Okay, so we will start our webinar. So first off, thank you all for joining today's webinar. My name is Emma Tsai. I'm from X23. I'm the moderator of the day. And so yeah, welcome to the Guide Me Green International webinar. Today we are focusing on enabling inclusive tourism, so a focus on policy implementation. So today on the agenda, first off, we have Sonia Barani from EACEA. She will be giving a presentation on Guide Me Green, so telling you the aim and the mission of the project. And then we have Maurizio Davolio from the president of AITR. He will be giving a speech on sustainable tourism for all, the harmonious tourism development of tourists and the locals. And then next on the agenda, we have Bjorn Sten Helgren. He's the sustainability officer of the Alger County. He will be giving a speech on explore or exploit, lessons from Norway. And at the end of the two keynote speeches, we will have a Q&A session. So before starting, I would just like to give a really quick disclaimer. So this webinar will be recorded. The cameras and the microphones are turned off by us. And if you have any questions during the Q&A session, you can either just raise your hand and we will unmute you, or you can just send me your questions directly on the chat. So at the end, we will reply to you. So yeah, this is the for very quick instructions. So now I will welcome Sonia Barani to give us the presentation of Guide Me Green. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I think you can see my screen now. So just very quickly, a couple of words of introduction to our project so that you know why we are organizing this webinar. So this is us. This is our team of the Guide Me Green project. We are an Erasmus Plus project funded by the German National Agency for Erasmus Plus. So our goal is to promote sustainable and inclusive tourism. And for us, the keyword is really inclusive. So our goal basically is to dispel the myth that who wants to travel sustainably has to spend more money than the people who doesn't pay attention to sustainability. So our idea is first to prove that there are a lot of offers that are cheap or not that expensive, but also sustainable. And on the other hand, it is true that nowadays most of the offers that are sustainable are also a little bit more expensive. So our goal is also, on the one hand, to address this problem to institutions so that institutions try to actively promote tourism offers that are both sustainable but also inclusive. And on the other note, also to promote or at least to encourage tourism professionals to pay more attention to a broadened target group. So not only the people that are ready also maybe to spend a little bit more on their vacations if they are sustainable, but also on people that maybe up to now didn't really consider sustainability as one of the key aspects of their vacations, but might be encouraged to do so in the future. So we are almost at the end of our project, to be honest. So we have quite a lot of things that we have already achieved. And I would like to show you very briefly a couple of things that we have done in the last 2 years. So first, we developed a booklet on sustainable tourism practices for all budgets. So this booklet is on our website. It is available in English and all the project consortium language. So that means in German, in Italian, in Spanish, in French, in Bulgarian, and in Croatia. You can find here around 100 good practices of sustainable tourism all over the world, which are also inclusive. There are really a lot of different things. So we have included some initiatives, for example, from local institutions that foster sustainable tourism. We have some projects. So we have some offers from tour operators that are sustainable, some tourism destinations that really try to attract a broader target and also to make themselves known among people that usually are not so keen on organizing sustainable trips. So I really recommend you to have a look at these practices to get inspired. Then our second achievement is this online course in e-learning. This is still available on our website. It is completely free of charge. And our idea was to teach, let's say, sustainable tourism that is really understandable for everybody. So our course is for every tourist, basically, who would like to know more about sustainable tourism and how to organize a sustainable trip with a small budget, but also for tourism professionals. So you can see here we have developed 6 modules, and it is ideally the path towards the organization of a sustainable holiday, which is not overpriced. And in every module, you can find a specific section for professionals. So you have a deep dive that it is made for tourism experts. You can decide whether to complete the whole course, so the 6 modules, or also to take 1 or 2 modules, depending on your interest. Also, the course is available in all project languages. It will be online at least until the end of April. It will remain online, but after the end of April, it might be that you will not be able to download the certificate anymore. So if you're interested, I would just recommend you to have a look at the course on our website, because it is completely free of charge. Here you can see 2 screenshots from the module. So there is a theory part, but we tried to make it a little bit more, let's say, interactive and game-based. You have quite a lot of videos, you have graphics. Here you can see these are some of the activities that we are suggesting. So the quizzes that you will need to complete if you would like to download the certificate, but also some some activities. Here you can see how would be a millionaire. So we would like to move our participants and to encourage them to give it a thought. So not only to read what is sustainable tourism, but really to try to apply these principles also in their own life when they organize their next vacation. The very last thing, this is the last result of our project. So we would like to raise awareness among travelers in Europe about sustainable tourism, and also to encourage them to travel sustainably, even with a small budget. If you follow our social media accounts, you probably saw in the past weeks that we publish 1 short video every week. So just to give some ideas and inspirations about sustainable traveling. These videos are also available on our Guide Me Green YouTube channel. And this is for the general public. So it is important for us that when we speak about sustainable tourism, we do it in a very, very understandable way. So we would like also that people that have no idea about sustainable tourism, or that were never interested before, that they are really able to understand what this is about. And lastly, our webinars that we are organizing. Today is the 2nd webinar of our webinar cycles in English. There will be one last on the 13th of February. And then we have several webinars in the local languages that are aimed at tourism professionals and institutions, because we would like also to inspire you to promote and develop more sustainable practices in your region. So if you would like to have a look at these materials, here is the QR code to our website. So feel free to browse the website, and also to let us know what you think about it. Maybe a very last word about today's webinar and what it is about. So in our project, we kind of saw that actually, even if Europe is very, very different, and we have an incredible variety of landscapes, of cultural cultural things in our countries, but basically the problems that we are trying to solve in tourism are more or less the same. So what we wanted to do was to invite 2 people, 2 tourism experts from 2 very different countries that are also quite far away from each other. So we have 1 speaker from Norway and 1 speaker from Italy, because we would like to see how they try to tackle this issue in their own country, and to see if there are some similarities, or if we can maybe learn from each other.
Okay, thank you so much, Sonia, to give this introduction. Jumping next, we have Maurizio D'Avorio, and he's going to give us some insights on the social sides of sustainable tourism. So Maurizio, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the invitation and good afternoon to all participants. Can you show the presentation? Okay. No, I cannot read. This is the title of my presentation, Tourism Accessible for all, which develops harmoniously in the relationship between tourists and the local population, the local community. In fact, in responsible tourism, the safeguarding of the interest of the local community, the protection of its rights, the recognition of its sovereignty in choices is central. The correct, friendly, cordial relationship between tourists and the local community is the fundamental characteristic of responsible tourism. The local community must benefit as much as possible from the advantages generated by tourism in terms of creating employment and income opportunities, mainly for young people, for women. Next. Tourists must adopt respectful and correct behavior. They find themselves in other people's houses, and in other people's houses, we adapt to the customs, habits, and traditions of the hosts, that is, of those who host us. In responsible tourism, therefore, a reversal of priorities takes place, while in conventional tourism, the priority of the interests and rights of travelers is recognized, whereas in responsible tourism, the priority of the interests of those who host of the local community is recognized. So a reversal of priorities. These problems are deeply felt in the developing countries, but we also experience them in Italy. The serious phenomenon of over-tourism afflicts our cities of art, such as Venice and Florence, and also other seaside and mountain locations, the Cinque Terre and some alpine valleys. The excess tourist presence, concentrated in space and time, produces heavy inconvenience for the local population. Crowding, increasing costs and prices, gentrification, cessation of economic activities and services aimed at the population, replaced by activities for tourists, loss of place identity. Next. We feel very committed to combating over-tourism. We are not very in favor of activity limitations and bans, which can only be adopted in the absence of other possible positive actions. This is our position. This is what we think about it. We propose actions to enhance less known places, but of notable cultural and naturalistic value. The promotion of the low seasons, the organization of cultural events not during the high season, and above all, we propose to allocate the revenue from the tourist tax to actions that favor simultaneously improving the quality of life for the local population and the quality of stay for guests. For example, cycle paths, pedestrian areas, city green areas, large car parks, improvement of public transport, good practices for accessibility for people with disabilities, sport facilities, cultural events. In this way, the local population concretely perceives the advantages, the benefits that derive from tourism, and can accept the inevitable inconveniences more calmly. Next. The pandemic has caused changes in forms of tourism, and these changes are becoming, at least partially, permanent over time. There was the discovery of internal areas, above all due to the difficulties in undertaking journeys to distant destinations, and given the preference for isolation deriving from security reasons. Thanks also to policies adopted by various Italian governments, there was a real explosion of walking routes, both religious and historical, cultural and naturalistic. Dozens have been created. Some say that there are even too many. A spectacular growth of cycle tourism, due above all to the extraordinary success of the e-bike. The discovery of the small villages, which constitute real treasures of art, history and culture. The further growth of agritourism and rural tourism. We have reached the number of 27,000 of agritourism units. A strong increase in visits to natural parks, both national and regional. Next. The objective of encouraging travel and holidays for all may be in contradiction with the objective of sustainability. It may in fact favor mass tourism. It is about solving a difficult equation. We discuss this a lot within the international network of which we are part, IST, International Social Tourism Organization. Specific reflection deserves the fact that while it is well established in the literature that sustainability refers to both environmental and social, economic and cultural ones, in practice we end up dealing almost exclusively with environmental sustainability. The use of renewable energy sources, saving in water and energy consumption, correct waste management, the fight to eliminate plastic and reduce food waste. It is not enough. Attention must be paid to the issue of work, which presents serious critical issues in tourism, resulting from seasonality and the lack of attractiveness of some professions, which are often low paid in Italy. The necessary professional training, social inclusion, especially for the most vulnerable categories, gender equality in the workplace, accessibility for people with disabilities, both as workers and tourists. The quality of relationship between host communities and their guests, which must be based on full respect and cordiality. The recovery of common assets. We in Italy are very committed to the recovery of assets confiscated from the mafia, also for tourism purposes. Next. For these reasons, that's proposed by our tour operators. We have 22 tour operators, members of our association, Italian Association for Sustainable Tourism. Always include meetings with representatives of local communities, cultural associations, artists, farmers, rights and environmental activists, religious authorities. There are often storytelling opportunities and forms of experiential tourism to be experienced together with the local community within it. In this way, the journey is enriched with content and allows the travelers to understand the local reality, albeit within the context of a journey that necessarily has a limited duration. I repeat that this approach to travel is always possible in all contexts for any spending capacity. The principles and good practices of sustainable and responsible tourism are universal and can be adopted by everyone in any country, in many situations and contexts. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Maurizio. It was really, really interesting. And in the meanwhile, if you have any questions, you can just like write it down in the chat or just memorize it. And at the end of after Beyond's presentation, you will have the opportunity to ask. So yes, thank you so much once again, Maurizio. And now I would like to welcome Beyond. He's going to introduce a little bit the situation in Norway, explore or exploit lessons from Norway. The floor is yours, Bjorn. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Let me share my screen quickly. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Thumbs up, Emma?
Yes, we can see it.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for inviting me. I'm Bjorn Stian Helgen. I have a difficult name to pronounce. I know that. But I do work in the Department of Sustainable Development at the Agder County. And the county level is the regional administration in Norway. And we are tasked with following up issues that are of importance to across several municipalities. So our key goals, they are set out in our main strategic plan, our master plan called the Regional Development Plan Agder 2030. And the plan sets out a number of targets for how the Agder region can become a more sustainable region and a society by 2030, aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goals and such. Today, I'll talk a bit about access to nature and the implications that this has on tourism, and particularly outdoor activities. And it will be from a regional authority point of view. If there's time, I'll also share a brief example from a practitioner's point of view. We'll jump into it. A bit of context first. Agder is situated in the very south of Norway. We are a small, we're a small country, but we're also a small county with 315,000 inhabitants, around the size of Iceland, spread over 25 municipalities. We are close to the sea, and we are close to the continent. We have a mountainous region, which is home to Europe's southernmost wild reindeer breed. That's within our borders, and we have a national obligation to protect it. We have the North Sea with important marine ecosystems, and we have a beautiful coastline that we are very proud of. And as a region, we are facing dilemmas, also when it comes to the footprint of tourism. How can we attract more people to our region, both to live here, but also to visit, while at the same time protect the vulnerable systems that we depend on? And I have to say already from this short webinar that I've been listening in on, that lessons from Guide Me Green are super interesting in that sense. This is the Norwegian outdoors that we present to the world, and it is beautiful. There's plenty of space, very few people, amazing scenery. We have the Norwegian word for this kind of activity, this kind of living. It's called friluftsliv in Norwegian, free air living, with important ingredients such as fresh air, connection to nature, hiking, slow living. And this is a reputation that has stuck with us for a long time. We are a nation of explorers, of outdoor enthusiasts, but we are increasingly understanding that even nature has its limits. And we acknowledge this as nationally in Norway in a new national tourism strategy. The new strategy was finalized in May last year, and it has 4 main goals. It's about enhancing value creation in the industry and create jobs. It's about cutting carbon emissions within the tourist industry. It is about making local communities attractive and to deliver outstanding customer value. it has the tagline of big impact with a small footprint. Particularly interesting to us as a public authority is the section about our role. And this new strategy, it highlights that in order to exploit the potential offered by tourism, it's crucial for the industry's needs to be incorporated into public planning and into land use planning as well. I think the issue of land use planning and land management is where we in Norway will see more and more conflict of interests going forward, which is challenging to a nation that is sort of used to having a lot of room available, space available. But I find it interesting that the strategy says that there is an untapped potential in cultural tourism, in contact with local communities, culinary experiences, and these are all key aspects of responsible tourism, and I would even say regenerative tourism. We have a beautiful scenery, but it is increasingly under pressure and needs particular focus as we develop the industry going forward. So this is a new strategy for Norway. This is taking a fresh look on the Norwegian tourism industry, and I think it resonates very well with the message from Italy. It's interesting. For example, the strategy says that the interaction between institutions that manage nature on behalf of the local communities, tourism stakeholders that offer nature-based experiences, such actors must be reinforced to ensure that further development is sustainable and effectively safeguards all aspects. It's a message that's in the strategy. As a public authority, we seek to balance the needs of the industry with that of protecting nature to the best of the inhabitants overall. So we come across quite a lot of the conflict of interest that are out there. Why is this important, and why does the strategy highlight the need for land planning? There's an increased pressure on available land in Norway. Attractive areas in many locations in Norway are under pressure, and this has an effect on the development opportunities for tourism. And it's in the news as we speak in Norway. The national broadcaster recently released a series of articles and a TV series that has become quite popular, that they have been working on for a long time. And in the series, they document how Norwegian nature is being developed, exploited, if you will, bit by bit, apparently without anyone having the full national overview. But here's an example from an island on the coast of Helgeland in northern Norway, beautiful archipelago, where an island is being converted into a land-based salmon factory. And the broadcaster documented 44,000 such projects where nature is degraded bit by bit all across Norway. And there's an ongoing discussion in Norway right now. It has been for some time, but it's been made a part of everyday conversation because of this focus from the national broadcaster. So there's an ongoing discussion about the use of nature. Will we continue to see increased pressure on the nature that is left, increased competition for land, and with that increased conflict of interests? I think the answer is yes. Local authorities are responsible for weighing up different interests against one another and helping to define predictable frameworks for all parties involved. So the Planning and Building Act regulation in Norway assigns a great responsibility to the local authorities, local municipalities, giving them a powerful tool to work with within the. But so far, too many of the planning processes have not paid sufficient attention to tourism and to visitors who are brought to small places all over Norway. So the strategy, the Norwegian tourism strategy, also points out that to cope with huge visitor flows is inadequate in some places, particularly smaller places. So what's our regional authority? Well, first we acknowledge that land management is what we call a wicked problem. Wicked problems, they occur when there are several issues coming together seemingly all at once. One example is that we need more energy. We need a green transition of our industry, but we also need to cut carbon emissions. And another one is related to tourism. We need a thriving economy. We need growth. We need tourists. We need visitors. We need activity. We also need to protect and restore 30% of all nature. And the opposites and the contradictions become in those problems, they become apparent when areas are to be developed, when we talk about land use, when we talk about using and utilizing nature. So we have developed this. It doesn't look too nice, but it's a powerful tool. We have developed an overview of how land is currently used in all the municipalities in our county. And perhaps even more importantly, we have also in this tool an overview of how much land that is being planned to use going forward. So the overview gives the municipalities, the politicians, the local politicians, it's a help to them in discussing seriously their use of land. They are discussing whether to stop developing new land, and the politicians, they can have a better discussion on what kind of land use, what kind of developments that they think is crucial. So would we want to take more land to allow for more cabins? Or where should the hiking routes go? Where is the reindeer path? Should we allow the cutting of trees to set up solar plants? Those kind of discussions are made, I won't say easy, they are still challenging discussions to be had, but this is a tool that at least gives us a common understanding of the situation. So as a county, we are using this information to guide the municipalities in their planning. And it can also be used in tourism developments. For example, by illustrating and showing how much land that is available for recreation or tourism purposes. And so that's how we are influencing policy implementation locally. One thing is planning, another is education and inspiration of the masses. So key guiding principles for the use of nature in Norway are concentrated in what we call the right to roam. It's basically a code of conduct that says that everyone can go wherever they want if they oblige to certain rules. Behave, leave no trace, treat nature, animals, local community, people with respect. And this is an approach that's been part of the Norwegian cultural heritage for decades. It's anchored in the Outdoor Recreation Act of 1957. But even this right to roam is under pressure, both because of there being less land to roam freely on in general, but also because the land that is left is being privatized and access is being prohibited. And I could go on about how access to nature also has the social gradient, where those with less income have poorer access to nature and the health benefits they miss out on, and what follows from that. There are consequences, societal consequences to having less land available to roam on, and this discussion is alive and over. Some political parties have acknowledged this, and there is a process underway now to make this right to roam part of our constitution. And that would be an important step in the right direction. There's a vote expected to happen this spring. So that's something to watch out on as well. I think an important part of responsible tourism in Norway would be to harness the right to roam and educate the public and visitors about this approach. So developing local communities that can serve as good hosts and show how this right is exercised in practice, I think is also a good strategy. So we need tools to guide the public to places where the nature is not vulnerable. For example, by using tools such as the one that the county has developed. But also practitioners are increasingly adapting to the ongoing trends here. How am I doing on time?
Yeah, you still have time, don't worry. Because
Okay.
Mauricio was a bit faster, so yeah.
Okay, I'll give a quick example from a startup that's founded in our region as well. So got ute, it literally means sleep well outside, and the core idea of this startup is to guide people to amazing outdoor experiences without harming nature. The way it's done is by using machine learning, form of artificial intelligence, to guess where there are beautiful camping spots, both for tents and for hammocks. And the idea with the model is that it looks at things like proximity to private houses, to roads, etc., to be aligned with the right to roam. The model is currently being developed to also include vulnerable areas so that people are not guided to hike or camp in those areas. And biologists and nature conservation organizations are also involved to help find proper data. So it's not only the places that are beautiful, but also are nice to camp, but they also can take the footprint. For example, such as this. The model is becoming quite good, showing promise of a way of using technology for nature-friendly outdoor activities, guiding both the public and visitors to local natural nature experiences with a small footprint. So that's one way that certain actors are adopting to the issue of guiding people or guiding tourists and the locals in our county. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and also feel free to reach out after the webinar if you have anything you want to discuss maybe. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Bjorn. It's a really, really interesting presentation, and thank you for the beautiful pictures from Norway. Okay, I see that Sonia had her hands up, so Sonia can go first.
I just wanted to ask something, so just to break the ice, actually, for both speakers. What would you say it is the main lesson that other European countries could learn from your country about sustainable tourism? So which is the best practice that is maybe already very widespread in your country that maybe could be inspirational for other European countries? So just the first thing that you think of if you think at sustainable tourism in Norway and in Italy.
Oh, no, excuse me. No, please.
Thank you. The first thing that comes to mind is what approach do you choose? Is it the path of rules and regulation, or is it the path of guiding mindsets?
Whatever. So one thing that you think Norway is doing particularly good.
I think, to be honest, this approach of right to roam, it's a way of that's something that I feel proud of, and that we are collectively proud of as a society. It's a way of using or exploring nature the outdoors on your own terms if you behave as a decent person. And what that does is that it aims to create a sense of belonging and a connection to the nature and a sense of responsibility within the person who accesses nature. The other approach is to go with rules and regulation as a way of preserving nature. And that generates other feelings, emotions with the people who access nature. Now, in a perfect world, everybody would behave well. So we need rules and regulation. But I think to only have rules to guide us and in our access to nature or access to experiences would be challenging. We need a little bit of both, and we need to focus on the things that make people feel good. That makes sense. So I would say the right to roam is something that we're proud of and we're happy to share with the world.
So as for Italy, I just want to mention some experiences I have already mentioned in my presentation. It is very important in Italy, the relationship between tourism and agriculture. For example, for agrotourism, I already said how many agrotourism units we have in Italy, but also wine routes, educational farms. So a lot of experiences are related, connected with agriculture and also with fishery, because also some kind of tourism connected with the fishing activity. And second, it's, as I already said, it's very important the support by our government, by our region for creating cultural and religious routes. This is also very important. And I saw during the first presentation that you have within this project, you have experienced the scattered hotel, which is something very new. It means very Italian. And the first experiences were started in Italy. And we have also in Italy some experiences of community-based tourism, as there are in Africa or in South America or in Asia. We have also in Italy some community-based tourism, strongly supported by some regions. Well, this is just all of what I can say.
Thank you so much, Maurizio.
I have a question. I have a question for Björn. What I saw a strong increase of outdoor tourism in Norway. Can you explain it? Because also I think that this is it happens everywhere in the world that outdoor tourism is growing. What kind of outdoor tourism you have in Norway?
Mm-hmm. Good question. What it feels like we have. I agree. It has exploded. I think the pandemic was crucial. I saw you had that as a point in your presentation too. You know, when there was a lockdown and people could not travel far or outside of the country, there was discovery of what is close to home. And the outdoor in Norway is close to home. And I think that we saw an explosion in outdoor activities. First of all, in tenting and in hammocking. I have some pictures from 2020 where there are hammocks everywhere in the forest around where I live. It was an explosion. But 2020 is now 4 years ago. So we've seen a dip. Well, there was a increase during the pandemic, obviously, but I think many of those who got a taste for outdoor activities back then they have continued to do so. There was a survey done by a branch organization in Norway about this a couple of years ago, where I think half of the younger part of the population either had or were planning to do an outdoor sleepover in the near future. So that's quite a lot for that age group. So it was really popular. But we have the mountainous regions in Norway that are famous for their winter activities, downhill skiing and so on, that are increasingly looking at what summer activities that they can offer as well. Myself, I went to the Alps in this summer, and I could see that I can see where they have their inspiration from. You know, to have downhill cycling and
are also snow shows popular and trendy in Norway as snow shows.
snow shows. I don't.
Yes.
What is that?
Well, snow shows, it's Sonia, le ciaspole, come si dice?
Yeah, like a ski tour. I mean, not downhill, but how do you say? Just people going on tour with their skis. So
Yeah. I would say anything that can be done on or in the snow is popular in Norway.
Because it's a sustainable way. It is a sustainable way to make tourism in the snow. Yes, very sustainable.
Actually, there's been a discussion in the cross country, you know, where you walk in the cross country skiing, because what you put under the skis will to have a good, you know, to get some speed or to get
Yes,
I don't know what
yes.
the word is, but that is not good for nature when it's left there. So even there it's changing, where you have skis that do not need this kind of chemicals underneath it to move well. But definitely it's popular both going downhill and going forward. Going uphill is also quite popular too in some circles.
Okay, so linking to this question, actually, we got a question from the audience. It's like, what is the most effective way, according to you, to educate like the population or even the tourists? Like, for example, like what you just said, what they did is actually not very environmental friendly, and what do you think it's the most effective way?
So I think this is where the marketing and sales people out there could have a good positive impact on sustainability. What we saw, I can give an example from the pandemic again. Norway shuts down and people move outdoors, and within a few weeks, there are hardly any branches on the trees left. You know, people have been cutting trees to make a fire or to make it nice, and they cannot. There's litter everywhere. I'm exaggerating, but you get the picture. It was really horrible. So what happened then was that quite a number of tourism operators, tourism organizations, outdoor organizations, they joined hands with common marketing campaigns. You know, how should you behave? So I think also here it's a matter of getting a message across, a common message across, cooperation with others who have a similar understanding and a similar vision as yourself is always helpful. But the power of marketing and the power of social media and a joint message is important.
Yes, definitely like working all together. And Maurizio, could you share a little bit like how in Italy, people are, what do you think it's the most effective way? or if there is already some ways where people are educating the tourists or the locals to educate the tourists to become a little bit more sustainable.
Now, in Italy, suddenly sustainability became trendy. So now there are a lot of initiatives for educating educating companies, small and medium enterprises, and some in the sustainable tourism was included in the program of schools, for example, for hotel schools, vocational schools. So there is a growth of sensibility and attention to the sustainability issue. So something is changing. It was very slow in the past, but now it's becoming. And there is the risk of greenwashing in Italy. There is a big risk of greenwashing. So companies that declare themselves as sustainable, as responsible, but it is not true. So we have to investigate what they really do. So our mission at the beginning, the mission of EACEA, of our association, Italian Association of Responsible Tourism, at the beginning was the diffusion of the principles and best practices of responsible tourism, but now we have to defend the idea of responsible tourism against this phenomenon of greenwashing. So this is some changes in the perception and in the activity.
And speaking about greenwashing,
I have a message also for the audiences, if I am allowed, because I see a lot of German names. So in Germany, we have a partner, quite important, specialized in sustainability. It is called Tourzert from Stuttgart, and they every year they are in the ITB in Berlin, and they present their scheme for sustainability. So it's a very big and qualified organization in Germany, Tourzert.
Interesting, thank you. So I was about to ask, like, if there's some like little tips on how to differentiate like the greenwashing, but I see that we have some other questions, so I will jump into that first. Okay, so we have a question for Maurizio, because it's about local community, so I guess it's for you. And the question is, does responsible tourism prioritize like local community interest over travelers, in your opinion, or do you how do you think can we balance this?
No, please, can you repeat?
Yeah. Okay. So we got
the local community.
Do you think
I don't hear very well?
Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry, but I cannot hear very well.
Don't worry. Do you think responsible tourism prioritize the local communities' interest over tourists?
You talked about changing the priorities, huh?
Yeah.
This is what I said about the priority.
Yeah. And do you think, is there any tips to balance it a bit more? Or
yes, it's quite balanced. You know, we started mainly, EATR was created mainly for countries of the so-called third world, developing countries, where this problem of the balance between the interest of tourists and interest for local community didn't exist at all. So now in our trips we balance the two interests, the two expectations, the two rights. In Italy, it's a bit different because local community may normally benefit from tourism, so there are not so big problems in the relationship between local communities and tourists. But sometimes it happens, and the main problem, as I mentioned it, and as I said in my presentation, is the over-tourism. Over-tourism is affecting local communities. And so this is the reason why we made this proposal to use the revenue coming from deriving from the tax, tourist tax, in order to make the life of local community at the same time of the stay of tourists positive and of high quality. So in this way, local community perceive the benefit from tourism. They can tolerate more the tourism flow.
Okay, thank you so much.
You
And
want to-
just
Yes.
connecting to this question about like over tourism, this problem, maybe Bjorn can reply to this one. So do regions that want to develop like sustainable tourism have to reduce the number of tourists they host, or do you think there's other options?
For to reduce the number of hosts.
Yeah, so
Well-
to limit the tourists coming.
To sort of limit the supply. I think Maurizio had an interesting point that's valid here as well, that there are certain areas that are subject to over tourism. Where we have that in Norway too. We have the Lofoten archipelago in the north and other places that are really popular at peak times during the summer. In those places, you need rules and regulation, and the space is limited, so you need to limit the access. But I think the point that Maurizio also mentioned was to spread to also to show the places that are equally beautiful or equally good, but they are not that famous or not that well known. So I think there should be plenty of room. There should be plenty of experiences to be had. But the problem is more about how to manage the flow of tourists and understand the patterns that they go through. When are they here, and what are they interested in, and where are those different places that they could be guided. So I don't know the proper English term for it, but I guess the management of people, the management of visitors, the flow of visitors is an important aspect.
Okay, thank you so much. So since now we are like a little bit out of time, so I would just like both of the speakers to maybe just give one final message to the attendees today and before we close the session. So maybe we can start from you, Maurizio, if you can give a final message.
No, my message is that all these projects, all these activities, Erasmus or COSME or Interreg, should collaborate among them. So now I realize that you have produced some materials for promotion of the project, and I will download surely your papers, your documents, because they're quite interesting, and I think that all the projects should collaborate among them, and this will benefit all the countries, all our countries, all our companies, all our cities, and this is my message, my last message, final message.
Okay, thank you. And Bjorn?
No, I will be brief. I think projects and planning and rules and regulation and all of these different things that we are involved with, they are important only if people are engaged and if people are have a passion for the topic. And I think that goes for sustainable tourism too. It starts with us who are involved in tourism. And if we believe in a bright future, like truly believe in it, then we can make it. So I appreciate the tools that you have offered through Guide Me Green. I will also do as Maurizio. I will download them and spread them widely in our region. And let's stay in touch.
Okay, thank you so much for both Maurizio and Bjorn, and also all of the attendees attending today and stick with us until this time. So yeah, thank you so much for your attending, and we hope you had a really great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.